Hey everyone, it's time to Nefis and chill, and we're back yet again in Update 31 with a new, or rather updated version of the Update 30 build for the Magicka Sorcerer DPS build for raids or PvE in general, brought to you by MemeDankExtra from PC North America, where we can showcase the best possible damage setup one could do on raid dummies and in actual veteran trials whenever possible as a Magicka Sorcerer. As a forward, there haven't been many actual changes since the build's last iteration in Blackwood. We will, however, still talk about their rotation, what may have changed, and there's definitely have been some notable changes, and we'll also talk about the basic information of this build. Otherwise, if you want the nitty gritty and you want more details on the build, including alternative setups and so forth, definitely check out the ESOU build page linked down below in the video description or in the comments. And you should have all of your questions answered by that. If not, you can still ask in the comment section or join the ESO University Discord, where we now have over 15,100 other people you can engage with about the Elder Scrolls Online. And as a forward, we do plan on releasing a Stamina Sorcerer DPS guide, similar to the Magicka Sorcerer guide we're doing right now here, and we also plan on finishing up other classes as well in terms of DPS. Anyway, let's start with the build. So just like last patch, we are going to recommend Khajiit as your recommended race for max orc DPS. Again, the difference between races aren't that high. Like Altmer, for example, or High Elf is definitely a good choice. Khajiit and Altmer are very, very close. Either one is fine. Khajiit is just nice because of their racial passives that offer that extra health and stat recovery, which can be nice in trials. In terms of the attribute points, regardless of whether you're hitting a dummy or a trial boss, you are going to have 64 points in the Magicka, and your Mundus Stone for pretty much all cases, or 99% of the scenarios, is going to be the Thief. Your consumables will be Ghastly Eyeball, or depending on the content, Bystat Food or Clockwork Citrus Fillet if you need both the Bystat benefits plus some sustain. And of course, your recommended potion is going to be Essence of Spell Power. We don't really recommend running Heroism Pots in raids like other classes can, because you don't want to give up the limited skill slots you have to run Inner Light for that major prophecy. So replacing one of your two pets is gonna be a DPS loss and may not be worth it. But that is up to you. In terms of the item sets, we're going to go with 1-piece Slimecraw, 5-piece Bosse's Mania, 1-piece Harpooner's Waiting Kilt, 5-piece Sororia on the front bar, and, of course, the Maelstrom Staff on the back bar, otherwise known as Crushing Wall. Now, the previous iteration of this build was that Bosse's Mania with Diamond's Victory and 1 Slimecraw and 1 Harpooner's Waiting Kilt were the best in slot gear for damage parsing. However, with the Update 31 adjustments to Diamond's Victory, we can see that the set has kind of fallen out of favor from being dominant to more situational. Unfortunately, DV essentially got nerfed for Magicka Sorcerers, so it's no longer the best set to pair with Bosse for parsing. Instead, we're going to go with the classic Sororia. Now, Diamond's Victory will still be fine if you can't stand still for Sororia depending on the actual fights or content, especially if you do a traditional elemental weapon spammable setup, that'll be fine for your DV. Personally, for most things, you can still go with Bosse and Mother's Sorrow, and also try to use frag spam when possible, unless the situation calls otherwise. In regards to armor weight, because a lot of people have been asking after the armor changes with Update 31, the general rule of thumb for DPS this patch is if you can sustain or have the appropriate penetration value as a Magicka DPS, you can go with more medium armor pieces. It's not going to be too uncommon to see people wearing, 2 medium armor pieces and 5 light armor pieces as a Magicka DPS, or even more, maybe 3 to 4. But in the case of the Magicka Sorcerer, either scenario of reaching that appropriate penetration value or having that sustain will probably be unlikely. In regards to dual wield being front bar as opposed to Infernal Staff front bar, that is situational as well. However, whenever you can, definitely use dual wield, because the dual wield front bar is actually going to pull 1 to 2,000 DPS higher than doing an Infernal Staff on the front bar. And I think we had a lot of questions on the last video about sustain. Dispatch shouldn't be too much of an issue, but if somehow your sustain is too good when wearing Base's Mania, you can try not taking any synergies, or you can even try taking out sustain passives. If Base is too difficult, and I think this is going to be the case for most people, to manage in terms of Magicka, you can drop it for Sororia, as Sororia is the next best option if you can keep up the stacks and actual content. If you need a skill slot for a shield or Mist Swarm or anything else, you can drop Barb Trap and run Medusa instead. So long as you have a set that is providing Minor Slayer, that'd be great. Even False God's Devotion is better than what many assume at first glance, because of not just the Minor Slayer, but also the critical bonuses if you can't run either Base or Sororia. You always want to do Bloodthirsty during jewelry trades. In fact, let's show the gear setup on the video. If you don't want to visit the build page for whatever reason, you can pause the video and look at the gear setup. That will show the armor weight, trait, enchantments, and of course the sets. And that's pretty much it. In terms of your primary skill bar, it's pretty much gonna be as seen on the video here. In terms of the champion points, it's pretty straightforward. The Warfare Slottables dispatch is going to still be Master at Arms, Backstabber, Deadly Aim, and Fighting Finesse. Of course, you will swap out one of these depending on the situation. For example, if you can't run Backstabber in Veteran Sunspire because you can't backstab the dragons consistently, or other places where you may not be able to have Backstabber active, you can run Thaumaturge instead. And of course, Biting Aura is an option for trash fights. And that's pretty much it for the basic information. Next, we'll be explaining the dynamic rotation of this build. In terms of the dynamic rotation, before engaging, as seen here, dump your Magicka pool to about 40 to 50% and cast the following skills in order before you engage the dummy. First, you pre-buff with Channel Acceleration, then swap it off if you can for Barb Trap. Then, you cast Boundless Storm. You cast Twilight Tormentor's activatable ability. Then, you cast Storm Atronach to the side. Then, you activate your Volatile Familiar's ability. And then, you cast Daedric Prey. And then, after all this, you light attack and then cast your wall. Do not light attack or walk up to the target until you cast this wall. The priority order for casting these skills, because this is a dynamic rotation, but it's a pretty straightforward one, once you start the rotation is different from most other people's. From top to bottom, on the video, the skills you should prioritize casting when their durations run out in order is as follows: Storm Atronach, Wall, Prey, Trap, Boundless Storm, and the Frag Proc, Scamp, Twilight. So from top to bottom, this is your priority list for casting these abilities. Most people prioritize the Crystal Fragment proc over everything else on this list except Wall or Prey, but the only time we want to cast Frag proc before the Daedric Prey is if we don't have an Atronach up and all of our damage over time effects are about to fall off. We'll always try to cast Daedric Prey even if we do have a Frag proc up. Doing it this way or the other way is ultimately fine, it's really up to you, but it mostly does come down to RNG. However, this way that we're showing in the video has a little bit of a higher DPS on average. Most people also don't cast Twilight Tormentor. After the Update 31 patch, Sustain is a little bit rougher due to the Rejuvenation Slottable nerf. If you can't keep up the Tormentor skill pre 50% on target for the raid dummy, you don't have to. But if you can keep it up in raid pre 50%, because sustain is typically better in raid, then you should. Take note that instead of slotting Storm Atronach on both of our bars, we have slotted Flawless Dawnbreaker front bar for an extra 1% spell damage over the passive slotting of the Storm Atronach, and that, you know, we are actually going to be using Dawnbreaker for that juicy spell damage boost, since now Dawnbreaker offers both stats of weapon and spell damage. Since DPS has gone up a little bit, you typically won't have quite enough time to save up for and make good use out of another Storm Atronach ultimate, hence why we are casting Dawnbreaker towards the end. Now once you reach 20%, which is Sorc Execute range, you need to do the following things. Number 1. Keep your wall and trap up as long as you'll get at least half of the durations on the target. Number 2. Do not activate your Scamp at all. Number 3. Only cast Boundless Storm if you'll get that full duration off on the skill. Number 4. Only cast Daedric Prey if your Storm Atronach is still alive. Number 5. Only cast Frag Procs if you're very low on Magicka. And lastly, do not take synergies unless you're at a Magicka to utilize Boss Aid to its fullest extent. Anyway, there were a couple mistakes on this parse. The biggest one being that Meme did recast Barb Trap a little early due to a tracker error. But other than that, this is pretty much as near perfect as you can get. Now it's okay if you can't get to this number, but the dynamic rotation and working on your fundamentals of light attack weaving and understanding how the rotation works, in conjunction with having item sets, but you know, item sets aren't the end all be all, is gonna definitely boost your numbers. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this and enjoy learning more about DPSing. We are going to be making a lot more videos like this in the near future, so definitely like, subscribe to stay updated, and also this will help us, if you subscribe and like, reach us, or help us reach more people. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for Nefis and chilling, and see you guys next time.